Jamie O'Hara has called for Tottenham to part ways with Richarlison after their disappointing start to the 2026-27 Premier League campaign, while also criticising new head coach Roberto De Zerbi following the opening day defeat. Tottenham Hotspur have received a welcome injury boost following their difficult start to the 26-27 Premier League campaign, with several key players now closing in on a return to action. And Tottenham Hotspur have reportedly reached a verbal agreement with Manchester City to sign Omar Marmoush on an initial loan deal, with the Egyptian forward poised to become another significant addition to Roberto De Zerbi's squad. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines, where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. And please make sure you turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live or upload a video to the channel. Okay, let's get into it. Tottenham Hotspur have been urged to sell Richarlison following their disappointing start to the Premier League season, with former Spurs midfielder Jamie O'Hara also taking aim at new head coach Roberto De Zerbi. Tottenham began the campaign with a 3-0 defeat away to Brentford, a result which immediately raised questions over De Zerbi's tactical decisions and team selection. O'Hara was particularly critical of the Italian's approach and argued that Spurs still had significant problems to solve despite their summer recruitment. The former Tottenham midfielder also singled out Richarlison, claiming the Brazilian is not good enough for a club with Tottenham's ambitions and he should be moved on. O'Hara believes that Spurs need to strengthen their options in attack and bring in a striker capable of providing a more reliable source of goals. Richarlison has endured an inconsistent spell since joining Tottenham from Everton, with injuries and fluctuating form limiting his impact. However, there is a strong argument that his contribution last season makes the situation more complicated. He produced his best return for Spurs in 2025-26, scoring 13 goals and registering 5 assists in 45 appearances. The article therefore highlights a wider issue for De Zerbi rather than simply Richarlison's individual performance. Tottenham need greater attacking consistency if they are to improve significantly on last season's disappointing Premier League campaign, and the new manager must find a way to get more from the forwards already at his disposal. O'Hara's criticism of De Zerbi is particularly significant because the Italian arrived with expectations that he could completely transform Tottenham's style and fortunes. The defeat at Brentford, however, provided an early reminder that there is still considerable work to do. With the transfer window still open, Tottenham could yet strengthen their attack, as we know. The club must now decide whether Richarlison remains part of De Zerbi's plans or whether selling the Brazilian and replacing him with another forward would better suit the manager's vision. Ultimately, the article argues that Tottenham's problems extend beyond one player. Richarlison's future may be debated, but De Zerbi must quickly find answers in attack and improve performances if he is to avoid early pressure during his first season in charge. The Standard reports that Tottenham Hotspur have been handed a potential injury boost despite their disastrous start to the 2026-27 Premier League season, with several key players edging closer to a return. The update comes after Spurs were beaten 3-0, as we know, by Brentford on the opening weekend, and new head coach Roberto De Zerbi admitting afterwards that his players are not yet fully fit enough to compete at the Premier League level. Tottenham currently have 7 first-team players unavailable, although at least 2 could return this week. New Tottenham Hotspur captain Mickey van der Ven missed the defeat at Brentford after suffering a problem during the pre-season tour in Australia. However, the centre-back has now returned to the group training, and De Zerbi has indicated that the issue is not considered serious. Van der Ven could make his return against Newcastle at home on August 29th, providing a major boost to Spurs' defence that struggled badly at Brentford. Pedro Porro is also closing in on a comeback. The Spaniard missed pre-season after returning late following Spain's World Cup triumph, but he's now training and building up his fitness. Like Van der Ven, Porro is considered a potential returnee for the Newcastle match. There is also encouraging news regarding Mohamed Kudus, who has not played since January following a serious quad injury which required surgery. De Zerbi has confirmed that the Ghana international is now back in training and is almost ready to return. The Standard suggests that Kudus could potentially feature against Nottingham Forest on September the 5th. Kudus' return could be particularly important for De Zerbi given Tottenham's lack of attacking threat during the defeat to Brentford. There is less positive news, however, surrounding James Maddison. The midfielder came off the bench against Brentford but reportedly landed awkwardly on his shoulder during the match. He is now considered an injury doubt for Wednesday's Carabao Cup meeting with Charlton. Maddison is continuing to build up his match fitness after his previous injury problems with his ACL, of course, and De Zerbi is expected to provide a further update before the Charlton game. His potential return date is currently listed as the Newcastle match on August 29th. Pat Matar missed the Brentford defeat after experiencing pain in his hamstring during training. De Zerbi described the problem as nothing serious, but stressed that Tottenham were unwilling to take any unnecessary risks with midfielder. Sarr is therefore another player who could potentially return against Newcastle. Dejan Kulusevski remains on the comeback trail after a serious knee injury. The Sweden international has returned to the training pitch, but is currently working individually rather than with the first team group. De Zerbi is also taking a cautious approach with Kulusevski, who has endured a difficult period and has not played for Spurs for around 18 months. No specific return date has been set for Kulu, although he is expected back during the first half of the season. Meanwhile, Javi Simmons remains a long-term absentee following an ACL injury towards the end of last season. Of course, he's not expected to return until early 27. Odegaard, who suffered a similar injury several months earlier, is targeting a return towards the end of 2026. With Tottenham's season already off to a nightmare start, De Zerbi will be hoping the injury situation improves quickly. The potential returns of Van der Ven, Porro and Sarr for Newcastle, followed by Kudus potentially returning against Nottingham Forest, would give the Italian a significantly stronger squad to work with. After the heavy defeat at Brentford, the timing could hardly be more important as De Zerbi looks to get his Tottenham project back on track. And in happier news, Tottenham Hotspur have reportedly reached a verbal agreement with Manchester City to sign Omar Marmoush on loan initially, with the Egyptian forward set to become another major addition to Roberto De Zerbi's squad. According to Football.London, the proposed deal is worth around £50 million eventually, with Tottenham moving quickly to strengthen their attack. The development comes less than 24 hours after Spurs reportedly reached an agreement with Savinho, highlighting the club's aggressive approach to the transfer market. Marmoush has emerged as a key target at Tottenham as they look to add greater quality and versatility to their attacking options. The Egypt international can operate as a central striker or from wider positions, giving De Zerbi another option in a forward line that struggled to provide enough attacking threat last season. The proposed move would also represent a significant piece of business between Tottenham and Manchester City. Marmoush only joined City in January 2025 from Eintracht Frankfurt, but Spurs have now reportedly persuaded the Premier League champions or ex-champions, should I say, so used to saying that, to sanction his departure. The report also discusses Savinho, who has been heavily linked with a move to Spurs throughout the summer. Spurs have been pursuing the Manchester City winger as part of their attempts to reshape the attack under De Zerbi for a long time, of course. Savinho's pace and dribbling ability and versatility would fit the profile of the attacking player that Tottenham will be seeking. The potential rivals of Marmoush and Savinho would give De Zerbi considerably more attacking options and could lead to significant changes in Tottenham's forward line. The Marmoush development comes as Tottenham continue to reshape their squad following last season's disappointing Premier League campaign. The club have already been active in the transfer market, of course, and appear determined to provide De Zerbi with the players and the tools required to implement his style of football. A 50 million agreement for Marmoush then would underline that ambition and could prove to be one of the biggest deals of Tottenham's summer window, even though it's on loan initially. With the transfer window approaching its conclusion, Spurs recruitment is gathering pace again, and the potential arrival of Marmoush alongside their pursuit of Savinho suggests De Zerbi could soon have a significantly different looking attack at his disposal. Okay, here's my thoughts on all those stories today. Firstly, the O'Hara comments. I think it's far too early to criticise De Zerbi. Look, there were elements you could argue about team selection and why didn't Maddison start? Why didn't such and such start? Fernandes, for example, but. He sees them day in, day out. He knows what he's there to deal with, and he said they're not ready. I would question why they weren't ready for the Premier League. They've had long enough to be ready, and every other team in the league is dealing with this World Cup issue with players returning late. And Brentford, although you could argue Brentford didn't have as many players at the World Cup, I mean, you know, Spurs been unlucky with injuries to like some Van der Ven, and obviously Porro an important part and integral play for Spain, so that's why he was late coming back. But you know, we've had. I personally think that trip to Australia and New Zealand, and I agree with what De Zerbi said. He hinted that it wasn't good for the team and wasn't good for the players going all that way. And people say you're in luxury on a luxury plane, but we all know what jet lag's like and how long it takes to recover from. I've never done a flight that long, but I know people that have. Chris has obviously done the flight, and he's still actually not right since, you know, body is all over the place. It can't be good for the players. Not using that as an excuse, I'm just saying it's a contributing factor. So I do wonder whether these long trips, I can't see Spurs going back to Australia and New Zealand anytime soon. You know, what was wrong with just going to Europe? There's plenty of places, but they want to grow the brand, so to speak. Wouldn't surprise me if they go back to America next year. Actually, I haven't been there since the Pochettino days. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit. The O'Hara comments that Richie must go. That was the main point of that article, and I've kind of said for a while that Richarlison's not at the required standard. I think probably a lot of people agree with that. Although it's funny, some of Richie's stats are pretty good, but when the ball goes up to your centre forward, you want it to stick, and so many times it doesn't. I don't think Richie's particularly fast either, so balls over the top are not going to work for him. He has scored some important goals for us, but I think we can do better. I think it's probably about time for Richarlison to go. But let's see how that goes. It all depends, of course, on if we get strikers in or forwards in the last part of the window. Hopefully, something which I'll come on to in a minute, the signings of Marmoush and Savinho. Is this going to be just them two, or is it going to be somebody else? Is we going to get a proper number 9 in as well? We'll see. We just don't know. Cody Gakpo obviously been touted around, but it doesn't look like Liverpool are going to be letting him go anytime soon. Have they got a third option there? I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. Transfer window obviously shuts in. Well, it's getting, what is it? Days now, really, isn't it, before it shuts? So Spurs have got to get a move on if they want that third player after Marmoush and Savinho. But let's see how it goes. But ultimately, I think you could see Richarlison go out towards the final days of the window, even on deadline day. Does he go back to Everton? We'll see. Injury updates. Good news that we should hopefully be getting Van der Ven, Kudus, and a few of the other players coming back, even though Porro wasn't injured. I think we've missed him. That defence at Brentford on Saturday wasn't good. We weren't good anywhere, were we? But to get a solid defence and get that first choice defence playing together, that's what we all want to see. So who that is that partners Mickey Van der Ven, we'll have to see. Is it going to be Van Hecker? Who knows? Could be Senesi, but we'll see. Does Udogie come straight in at left back? Does Robertson keep his place? I thought of all the players on Saturday, I thought Robertson had a half decent game, put across a couple of decent crosses, but we'll see what Roberto De Zerbi thinks of that. One thing's for sure, that I don't think we'll see that team ever play together again. I think Alistair Gold said as much as well. But good news to be getting these players back from injury and hopefully playing again soon. We want to see Kulusevski, we want to see Kudus coming back. The one player again, hopefully he's not injured too badly. James Maddison just can't cut a break, can he? Maddison always injured, and people saying, oh, he's unreliable, he's always getting injured, blah blah blah. These players don't want to get injured. Sometimes they're just unlucky. You know, Darren Anderton, I remember from the 90s, absolutely brilliant player, always seemed to be injured. He actually wasn't as injured as much as people used to think, but that's what he's remembered for. And finally, anyway, coming on to the Marmoush and Savinho, I'm not going to talk about these two too much. People, I think, are bored of these transfers, especially Savinho. We just want it over the line now, and hopefully they'll be holding up the shirt soon. At the time of recording, they haven't signed yet, but hopefully soon, both of them. Marmoush, I'll be honest, excites me more than Savinho, but getting in these two new fresh attackers, let's hopefully Savinho can push on and prove to everyone that he's the player that Pep always said he was. And Marmoush, I always wanted Marmoush before when City signed him a couple of Januaries ago. I wanted the player. I think he's a cracking player. I think he can really, really make a difference at Tottenham, but let's see. Let's hope we can get these players in, get them over the line, and hope for more transfers. Hopefully another forward in the coming days. And are they going to go in for another right back after, obviously, Archie Gray's woes on Saturday? I think it was, see him getting a bit of abuse online. There's no time and place for it at all. Young lad, given the captaincy, wrongly in my opinion. I think that puts too much pressure on him, and he's much, much better in the midfield. But covering at right back, if Porro's out, I think we're taking a risk there. Could Kevin Danso fill in? Possibly. But after Spence went, and I didn't want us to sell Jed Spence, but he's gone. Do we go in for another right back? Do we look for an opportunity in the loan market? Let's see. Get down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. And as always, come on you Spurs.